Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, March 23, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that cold front that has been inducing a trough into portions of the Greater Antilles has now dissipated, and what's left of it is now situated across the northern sections of North Atlantic. And we can also see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by a ridge of high pressure, which is sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean and curving towards the north by the Greater Antilles. We can also see the trough of low pressure inducing cold fronts across portion of the southeastern United States. Lots of bad weather taking place, and we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down. The clouds associated with that trough of low pressure and the numerous cold fronts that has induced across the southeastern United States, sections of the Bahamas, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, still getting in on some amount of overcast sky showers and thunderstorms. And some of this activity could very well make it close to Jamaica on Sunday afternoon into Sunday night and even into Monday. Elsewhere across the eastern portion of the Caribbean, we can see those low-level patches of clouds pushing from east-west, some of which have some amount of isolated showers within them. But back at this system across the Bahamas and Cuba, we can definitely see that they've been getting it all day today with some amount of severe thunderstorms, lots of lightning flashes if not lightning strikes within this system. And we can see the system is definitely pushing its way towards the east. So who knows, maybe some of this activity might make it into sections of especially northern Jamaica. Especially if it makes it close during the afternoon on Sunday, we might get in on some amount of thunderstorm activity across northern Jamaica. Alright, so we'll be talking more about the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, March 23, 2024. So it was stated that we would have received some isolated morning and afternoon rainfall for sections of southern Jamaica on Saturday. And we know southern Jamaica, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew. And what ended up happening? As early as 6:05 a.m., the infrared satellite images were posted, and they showed some amount of clouds bringing overcast skies and isolated showers. A section of some southern parishes, if you can make out these slight whitish grayish colors pushing from south east to northwest. We definitely had some isolated shower activity across my area in St. Thomas this early morning. But during the afternoon, we didn't get in on much of that rainfall that was predicted. Just some passing clouds here or there. Some across sections of Manchester, maybe some isolated showers within them. Some across maybe sections of eastern St. Thomas, stringing along in those lines of clouds. So just a lot of hit or miss isolated cloudy conditions and some slight isolated shower activity. We might still get in on some of that activity tonight. Nothing too serious, but we can see that the latest infrared satellite images are still showing those clouds stringing along from southeast to northwest. Not seeing much taking place on the Cuban Doppler radar images across or around Jamaica right now. But we do see all of those greens and yellows and gold colors that represent light to moderate to even heavy rainfall associated with that system across central Cuba and even sections of the Bahamas right now. As relates to the temperatures right now, we can say we have 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, and as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower, down to 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay and 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston by about 3 a.m. on Sunday. Taking a look at the temperature forecast from the GFS for 18Z on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. and we see Jamaica still embedded in some yellow to orange colors, and we can see those yellow to orange colors on the key on the right that represent anywhere from 1 to 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of March across Jamaica are about the same as 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit. And we take a look at the thermometer, 87 degrees 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So if we're going to be receiving 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures on Sunday, it should be anywhere from 30 to 33 degrees Celsius at most. As it relates to the dry air map, we can still see that we have a lot of dry air stretching all the way from Africa into portions of the Gulf of Mexico across the Caribbean, as represented by those yellows, oranges, and reds, as we can see by the key on the bottom. But we're indeed grateful that we're not getting in on that very dry air that we're seeing right there off the coast of Africa, as represented by those darker reds and even some whites within those reds. And all of that, as we know, has to do with the Saharan dust, and we can see the Saharan dust even better on this map, as this is showing the forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday. As we can see, majority of the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico should be in the clear, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across sections of the main development region, as well as that area off the coast of Africa, especially where we see those darker shades of browns. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus that for Sunday, we're going to be receiving anywhere from those lighter shades of blues to the darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represent anywhere from 0.5 meter to 1, maybe even 1.5 meter wave heights in some spots. And that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all. Coming in from the southwest or maybe the south-southwest, any direction from there, averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 knots at most, and we do see those darker shades of blues piling up across sections of northern Jamaica, maybe north central to northeastern Jamaica. That's where we're going to be having the least amount of winds. That's where we're going to be having those, that wind piling up. Then we have that formulation of clouds possibly becoming some amount of thunderstorm activity, especially with that system is expected to come close to Jamaica. We might definitely see some afternoon thunderstorm activity across sections of maybe Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, sections of Portland, and with the upper level winds coming in from the northwest for tomorrow and curving westward, definitely going to be seeing some of those high cold cloud tops being blown off towards the south and the east across the island. So definitely some afternoon rainfall across sections of some northern parishes, upper level winds blowing those high cold cloud tops off towards the south, bringing more overcast skies to sections of some southern parishes. And if we actually take a look at the rainfall forecast, this is valid for 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by the GFS model. This is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, and we do see the blues that represent rainfall right there off the coast of the island to the west and to the north of us, not to mention those very spots that we just mentioned, sections of Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary. Euro is a bit more robust with where the rainfall is expected in those blues, but we do see the consensus with what we just saw on the GFS with the rainfall off to the west and to the north of the island, especially across northern parishes. Not so confident with those blues across sections of some south central and eastern parishes, especially considering that GFS is not showing that, but we're gonna go with the consensus. We're gonna go with what both maps are showing. So definitely sections of some northern parishes for 3 p.m. on a Sunday, so ensure that you try to get that laundry done early. And even if we skip ahead to about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 p.m. Jamaica time, we're still seeing much of the same. Those blues that represent rainfall across sections of some northern parishes in Jamaica, sections of Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne getting in the mix. So we're definitely going to be in for some amount of rainfall, all courtesy of this system that is definitely making its way towards the east. And the accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that some part of Jamaica is going to be receiving rainfall within the next 24 hours. GFS is a bit less robust than the Euro. GFS showing up to 0.14 of an inch of rainfall across northern Jamaica from now up until 10 p.m. on a Sunday. Not saying that it's going to be raining all the way up until then, but within the next 24 hours, these are the areas that are going to be picking up that rainfall. Euro, more widespread with the where in terms of where it's going to be affecting the island section of Westmoreland, looking at St. Catherine, St. Thomas, Portland. But we're looking for consensus with what both maps are showing, and we're definitely indeed seeing that northern Jamaica is in the mix. So 0.16 of an inch of rainfall is what the Euro is showing. GFS showing a little bit less. We're in the month of March. As you know, we're still in the dry season, so any rainfall is much welcomed. We can see that we definitely need the rainfall. The hills are browner than normal. The grass isn't as green. Definitely a lot more bushfires taking place. Jamaica Fire Brigade is definitely busy this time of year. So we know we get up to 87.15 millimeters of rainfall during this month. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put a dent in the drought that we're definitely experiencing at this time. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So, as we mentioned, lots of clouds associated with those cold fronts, trough of low pressure, affecting sections of Cuba, the Bahamas, soon to be the Turks and Caicos. Some low-level patches of clouds pushing from east to west as usual across sections of the Leeward and Windward Islands, and even sections of Colombia as usual getting in on those thunderstorm activity. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, if these images will load, we're definitely seeing where we had those greens that represent light to moderate rainfall across the eastern portion of the Caribbean today. So section of northwestern Puerto Rico definitely gotten on some of the action with that afternoon rainfall. We saw that we had those greens that represent light to moderate rainfall pushing from east to west, maybe some hit or miss showers for sections of Dominica, Guadeloupe, maybe sections of Antigua and Barbuda gotten on some of the action in the US and British Virgin Islands as usual. As it relates to the Barbados radar is back up and running as it wasn't working yesterday. And we do see the blues and the greens that represent rainfall pushing from, let's say, east to west for the most part. Sections of Martinique, sections of Guadeloupe getting in on the action, that is St. Lucia, maybe sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines later on tonight, sections of Tobago getting in on some of the action, not so much Trinidad at all. And if we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we don't see much taking place on that radar site to the east of Nicaragua, some across portions of Colombia, not much on the ABC Island radar or the French Guiana or Suriname radar, but we do see that tremendous rainfall activity across sections of Cuba, the Bahamas as well. This relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow. We see the grays and the blues that represent below normal temperatures for a section of the southern United States, coastline, Florida, the Bahamas, sections of Cuba associated with the weather from that or those cold fronts. While we have those yellows and oranges, not to mention reds, touching all the way from northern sections of South America into portions of Central America, majority of the Caribbean as well, all to be receiving above normal temperatures for Sunday. As relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday, we do see that majority of the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico should be in the clear, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across the waters of the main development region, not to mention that vigorous plume of dust as represented by those darker shades of brown closer to Africa. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, these maps from the year and the GFS are showing that majority of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico should be receiving those blues. As we can see, those blues by the key on the bottom right represent anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights. We do see some burgundy, purple, reddish colors touching all the way to from the north of the Bahamas all the way up into the northeastern United States. So the waters to the east of the US definitely churning up, all courtesy of the systems that are there, definitely churning up the water because of the strong winds that they're definitely bringing. We can see those gold and burgundy colors right there associated with anywhere from 25 to even close to 40 knot winds. While the Caribbean for the most part gonna be receiving anywhere from 5 to 10 to even 15 knots in some spots. Central to Eastern Caribbean coming in from the east, curving towards the north, so southeasterly flow across sections of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, section of the Leeward Islands. More of a southerly to southwesterly flow across the Greater Antilles, including Haiti, Jamaica, sections of Cuba as well. And this is about the year and the GFS models are in consensus with this. And as it relates to the rainfall forecast now, we know the rainfall is represented by what we see on the key on the right, and the more colorful it gets, the more rainfall that's expected. And we see all of that rainfall expected for sections of Cuba still to come. If they're not already getting that rainfall, they're definitely going to be getting it anywhere from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday. So sections of southern Florida, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, sections of Jamaica, Puerto Rico. We can also see some rainfall in store for sections of Guadeloupe, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Trinidad and Tobago might get in on some of the action. Well, more so Tobago than Trinidad. Skipping ahead, looking southward, don't see much taking place across the northeastern sections of South America, including Guyana, Suriname, or French Guyana, but definitely sections of southern Venezuela, Colombia as usual, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, sections of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras might get in on some of the action as well. Maybe even coastal areas of Belize getting in on the action as well as the Cayman Islands. I know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.